Hey, it's Ken Conan, the travel rookie. I've got my favorite travel expert with me today. It's Mr. Ted Blank. How are you, Ted?
I'm great. And I'm Ted Blank, and I am a travel expert. And for the last 10 years, I've been planning trips for folks. I have planned hundreds of cruises for people. And Ken, you and I are here to help demystify cruising, to make cruising easy, and to help folks reach their travel dreams.
I love it. Well, I'll tell you what, the first cruise I did, I looked at the itinerary and was like, oh, this looks like fun. How do we do anything? It was very confusing to me.
It is. There's a lot of information out there, a lot of information on the internet. Some of it has the benefit of being true, but not all of it is true. And, you're just overwhelmed by the number of choices out there. So our goal with this program is to help cut through the clutter.
Awesome.
To talk about, what makes a great cruise and help people pick out the right cruise for them.
Awesome.
And if you stick around as we go through this, we've actually got a little special offer for our listeners at the end of this program.
Oh, I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it. Well, I'll tell you, I'm glad that we're doing this. It's our first show, so I'm really excited about getting to understand more about cruising and traveling, and I'm excited to hear about where you're going to take us today virtually with our cruise.
Yeah, so if you have been dreaming about the crystal clear waters of the Mediterranean, if the idea of Italy captivates you, if the Greek islands interest you, we've picked out a great cruise for you.
I love it.
So we're going to take you on a journey through the Mediterranean, and if you want to follow along with us, go down into the comments, and you can actually click on a link to see the cruise that we're going to be talking about.
So the actual cruise we're going to talk about today, like these ports.
The actual cruise, the actual ports, the dates, and everything. It'll be right there for you. And
awesome.
If you want to request a quote, you just click a button, and we'll get an email.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm excited. Where do we kick off this cruise, and maybe how do we even get there? Is it just a quick flight over, and do you help with those too?
Yeah, so part of making cruising easy is that we're here to help with all those logistics, all those details, and all those questions. What kind of money? Where do I get cash? What's the power? What's the power adapter? Do I need a passport? All that stuff. We're here to help demystify that as well.
Goodness. That was one of my questions when I cruised the Rhine River last year. It was like, power in the boat is different than power in the hotel with our pre-stay.
It can be very confusing. It can be very confusing and very overwhelming. And so our job is to simplify things for you.
Love it. Well, kick us off in our first stop.
So this is a great cruise, and I think we're going to start off our program on a really high note with a luxury, all-inclusive small ship cruise that starts in Barcelona and ends in Athens.
Nice.
And so we're going to give folks a survey of the Mediterranean. And so if you've never been to the Mediterranean area before, this is a great cruise for first-timers. You're going to cover a lot of ground. And if you've been there already, you're going to see some familiar places, but also have an opportunity to visit some new and off-the-beaten-path destinations.
Fun.
And this cruise line has the advantage of including shore excursions with the cruise. And so you'll have a selection of a broad variety of excursions, in addition to great service on board, great food, and a really great cruise experience.
Very nice. An excursion, I found out, is when you go get to have some fun off the boat.
You get to have some fun off the ship, absolutely. You get to go ashore, and the range of excursions varies from city tours to culinary experiences where you can go out into the market and taste and touch and sample, to hikes and things for folks who are maybe more athletic than we are as well. So lots of options out there.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. And anything in particular in Barcelona you would say put that on the list of
Well, Barcelona is an absolute must-see for anyone going to the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
And it is one of the most interesting big European cities out there. I think probably the most interesting city, maybe second to Paris.
Wow.
And Barcelona was the home of the very famous architect Gaudi. And so Gaudi is famous for some very gaudy architecture, if you will.
Gaudi.
Yeah, that's where it came from. There's a beautiful church. It is. It's named after him. Yeah.
Love it.
Beautiful church there called the Holy Family Church that isn't quite finished yet, but it's a real iconic piece of architecture that's worth seeing.
Awesome.
Gaudi designed some buildings, and one of the cool things is you get to see his buildings next to the buildings that everybody else was designing at the same time. So it's a little bit of like a, culture shock with his very soft, curvy buildings with these kind of traditional turn of the 19th, 20th century buildings. He designed a beautiful park. And Barcelona is one of the most atmospheric cities in Europe. You can just walk along the beautiful boulevards, sit down, enjoy some tapas, a glass of wine, and just really get a chance to take in that Spanish culture.
Sounds great to me. And are you in Barcelona for the full day?
So the cruise starts in Barcelona.
Oh, it does.
So we'd want to make sure we arrange a pre-cruise program for you in Barcelona if you want to have a chance to see the city. Because once the ship sails, you're off on the adventure.
I love it. And pre-cruise meaning you get there a day or two before.
Day or two
you get to
beforehand,
hang out.
yep,
Yeah.
we'll arrange a hotel for you and set up some sightseeing as well. So, again, make those complicated things real easy
I like
to
that.
do.
I like that. That's awesome. All right. So what's our next port?
Well, the next marquee port that we're going to visit is the port of Livorno, which happens to be a city that nobody's ever heard of.
I was going to say, I've never heard of that.
Yeah. It's the port for the city of Florence, and it's the port for the region of Tuscany.
Wow.
So you'll actually have a choice to make on this particular day, whether you want to go explore Florence and see the art museums there, the Accademia, the Uffizi Gallery. You can see that very famous statue of David by Michelangelo, which I discovered there's a replica of it in Las Vegas. But only in Las Vegas, they've covered David up with a little skirt. So you can see David in all of his glory in Florence.
Nice.
And you can also visit the cathedral there, which is called the Duomo, which means the dome. And it's one of the most famous cathedrals in the world. You can actually climb to the top of the dome. And this cruise offers several different choices of excursions in Florence that are all included. Or if you'd rather, if food and wine maybe is more interesting to you, you can head out into the countryside and into Tuscany, which of course is sort of Italian for food and wine. It's where Chianti wine is grown and produced. And so you can just enjoy a beautiful day relaxing and exploring the Tuscan countryside and, living a little bit of that under the Tuscan sun dream.
That is exactly what I think of when I think of the Mediterranean. I think of Tuscan.
Absolutely.
Just what you said.
Yes, exactly.
Right under the Tuscan sun.
Great sun, food, interesting cuisine, and some art and history thrown in as well.
That's great. And then do you spend the night in port there, or do you get underway after?
You'll head out that evening, and you'll head down to, I think, the next real marquee port on this cruise, and that is, of course, Rome, which isn't really very far.
Wow.
Yeah, but it is, again, we're talking iconic marquee cities in Europe, so we're giving you the full Mediterranean experience. And where to even start in Rome? I mean, there is so much to see and do in the Italian capital. You can go see the Vatican museums, which is where the Sistine Chapel is located, another work by Michelangelo.
Wow.
You can visit St. Peter's Basilica, which if you're interested in the faith side of things, is certainly a very spiritual experience. If you're not, it's also an incredible architecture experience. Of course, the Colosseum and the Roman Forum, where the city of Rome came together. But if you've been to Rome before and you don't want to do that, they've got a great food market where you can actually go out to a food market and explore and kind of taste some of those little regional delicacies that maybe you didn't have a chance to do when you were in Rome the last time. So it'll be a busy day, and you'll be glad to get back to the ship, put your feet up, relax, and enjoy a great meal on board as you keep heading south.
That is awesome. I feel like Rome is one of those cities you roll into, and it's just like the angels are singing as you come into the city, and
they really are.
Everything is here.
It is. It's an overwhelming, overwhelming to your senses. The smells and the tastes and the things you can see and almost touch. I mean, it's incredible to see what Michelangelo could do with marble and really almost bring it to life. So we've really hit some major highlights.
I don't know where we go from here.
I know. Well, we're going to change gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about one of the other marquee ports on this cruise, and that is the Greek island of Mykonos. And yes, so Mykonos is one of those just quintessentially beautiful Greek islands.
Yeah.
Crystal clear waters, the whitewashed buildings, beautiful beaches, a lot of great restaurants. If you're into nightlife, there's a lot of nightlife in Mykonos.
Love it.
If you're not, you can be interested in day life and spend some time on the beach. So it's kind of a nice way to sort of wrap up the cruise. It's a 10-day cruise, and Mykonos is the final port before you get to Athens, where the cruise ends. But it's another one of those real marquee ports that when you're in the Mediterranean, you really want to hit.
So is this, in my opinion, this seems like a highlight reel of the Med. Am I thinking
It
about
is,
that?
yeah, it is kind of a highlight reel. But one of the other neat things is that you do get a chance to visit a couple less visited ports as well, and to get a little bit off the beaten path. Yeah, and so the first one is a port that I had the chance to visit 2 years ago, and I really fell in love with it. It's a Greek city called Githio, and Githio is located on the Peloponnesian Peninsula. Say that fast 3 times.
I couldn't tell you where that's at, but okay. I won't say that fast
It's
once.
actually the port for the city of Sparta.
Oh,
back in the
come
day.
on.
Yes, back in the day, that's where it was the port for the city of Sparta. So unfortunately, Sparta's
Wow.
gone. There's really nothing left of Sparta. But there's a very interesting monastery very nearby that you can go visit. The
Wow.
date's from like the year 1000 AD.
Wow.
And it was one of the most interesting places I've been. You kind of hike your way up a path going through pretty well preserved churches, pretty well preserved monasteries, and some fortresses. And it was one of those just interesting off the beaten path things that the last time I did it, there were probably a total of 100 people in this huge site. And there was nobody there. So it was a really, really cool experience. And the only way to get there is to hop on a ship and head over to Githio and head up the road
How
a little
fun.
ways. You'll also have a chance to visit Pompeii and the ruins of Pompeii. So certainly that's a marquee attraction. But a lot of people don't realize that it's actually very easily accessible from a cruise. And of course, Pompeii, the city that was destroyed when Mount Vesuvius erupted. And you'll see Mount Vesuvius. And you'll actually see Mount Vesuvius maybe smoking a little bit, because I don't think Vesuvius is quite finished up with us. Not done yet. But Pompeii is certainly one of the most interesting places that you can go and visit.
Wow.
Yeah,
I don't even know what I'd think walking around Pompeii, and just what I visualize would be there.
Yeah, it's very interesting because parts of it were completely destroyed, and then parts of it were actually really well preserved.
Yeah.
So you can find frescoes and rooms that are almost perfectly preserved. So it's a really, really interesting, insight into what life was like several thousand years ago.
Sure.
At this point, Pompeii was pretty old. It hit its prime when the Roman Empire was at its prime, so a long time ago. So we're covering a lot of ground here in the Mediterranean, and I think this is a great, as I said, a great opportunity to hit the highlight reel, but also get a little bit below the surface and see some interesting destinations.
Can you tell us just a little bit, from being a rookie at cruising, what's the ship like? Is it big? Is it small? How many people are there on there with me? Am I in a suite? Am I in a bunkhouse? I mean,
no bunkhouse. That's the good news.
I'm sure it's not a bunkhouse.
Yeah, no, this is a great ship, and as I said, Regent Seven Seas Cruises is one of the top cruise lines in the world. So the ship carries about 750 passengers. So it's actually a pretty small ship by modern cruise ship standards. It's an all-suite cruise ship, so all the staterooms will be a suite.
Like that.
So plenty of room to spread out, very spacious balconies. Everything's included. So not just meals in the main dining room, but specialty dining restaurants like the Asian restaurant and the steakhouse and the French restaurants. So a lot of choices. Beer and wine, alcohol is included. Great entertainment. As you can imagine on a luxury cruise, the crew is really well trained and they do a really great job. So they really give you, they make it feel like home. This is kind of your home away from home. And, it's really a floating luxury hotel that's taking you to some of the most interesting places in Europe that you can visit. So it's a great stress-free way to see a lot of Europe.
I love it. You told me a quote, and I'm probably going to screw it up, but when you travel by cruise ship, you have your luxury hotel with you at every port.
You do.
And I thought, until I cruised, it didn't really click for me, but it's so nice to come back to your room,
to your room,
suite.
to your ship, to your
Unpack.
cabin attendant who's always got a friendly smile, and the ship moves with you.
It's
so
great.
you can see a lot without having to pack and unpack, and that's a really stress-free way to travel. And that's why cruises like this, they're really popular, and they will sell out a long time in advance. The average booking window for a trip like this is probably 12 to 18 months in advance.
Really?
So, this is me as an expert telling you, don't wait, don't miss out. Click below and you can find out a little bit more about this cruise, but now is the time to think about this.
I was going to say, what's an average time to be like, and I suppose every cruise is different, but just a rough idea. Are we talking 12 months out is safe, or should you go maybe even further?
It's always interesting because you can book cruises now into 2027.
Okay.
Here in 2024, we're talking about cruises 3 years into the future.
Wow.
And especially these small ship luxury cruises that go to, with great itineraries like this at a great time of the year, end of September, beautiful time to go. This will be a sellout.
Love it.
Yep.
Love it. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm pretty excited. I don't know how I can get on this cruise, but I'm raring to go. That sounds like a great one to be a part of. So
yeah, absolutely. So we would love to help you. My team and I, we specialize in luxury cruises. That's what we do, day in, day out. We plan hundreds of them a year. So please click below. You can find more information about the cruise, and you can easily request a quote, or you can request more information. And as a thank you for sticking with us through this whole cruise, we are happy to offer an onboard credit to anyone who books this cruise
Nice.
through us. So just follow the link below, fill out the information, and we'll get back to you and we can get this planned for you.
I love it. I love it. Well, Ken Conan, the rookie, and Ted Blank, the expert, thank you, as always, for being part of the, explaining cruising to me. I love all the knowledge, and I'll tell you what, a wealth of knowledge. Ted Blank and his team, they're just amazing. So definitely reach out to them.
Yeah, thanks for having us, and look forward to another cruise next week.
Awesome. Thank you, Ted.
Yep.